Welcome friends to Real News Australia for this special series that seeks the truth about vaccines and vaccine injury. We talk to fellow Australians that have lived with vaccine injury and allow them a voice. Our first guest is Tracy, and this is her story.
Yeah, my son was born in June '92 at the Mater Mothers Hospital. There was no problem with the birth, easy birth, a quick birth, and no problems whatsoever. Perfectly healthy, perfect baby.
Okay, and did you have immunisations like at birth, like they do now, or did these problems come later?
The adverse reaction was later, but he initially had the vitamin K injection. And I don't remember giving permission for that. It was just done.
Okay.
Yes.
And so that happened at birth, and then you took him back later on for further immunisation. Tell us about that.
I followed the schedule as recommended, which is 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. He went in for his 2 months on time, triple antigen and oral Sabin immunisations, and that's when he had the adverse reaction.
Okay, that's sort of when it went pear-shaped.
Very
and you were
much.
telling me off camera before that your son had bright eyes and like a clear.
He was
vision.
a very bright,
bright, bubbly
attentive baby, very attentive baby.
Okay.
You know, I noticed a complete change.
Yeah.
He was a different baby.
Yeah, and what happened? Like, was it straight away, or was it?
It was the day of the vaccine. I brought him home, and he seemed okay. I gave him lunch, and he went down for a sleep as usual. And I thought through the afternoon, gee, he's sleeping a long time. And I went in to check on him, and he was white. And I don't mean pale, I mean white. And he looked like he wasn't breathing. I thought he was dead. Yeah. And I'll never forget that feeling. It was so hard to reach over and pick him up. He was non-responsive completely. He was like a rag doll. I couldn't wake him up. Yeah. Arms and legs just hanging like a rag doll.
Yeah, I can only imagine the terror of that day. And then what happened? Did you rush him back to the hospital? Did you call an ambulance? What went on?
just put him in the car and took him straight to the doctor's where he'd had the immunisation. It was only around the corner from me.
Sure.
And the doctor tried to arouse him by running a pen up his foot.
Right.
To try and...
he was testing for something.
Yeah, well, trying to get him to respond.
Right.
And he did. Eventually, he come good. Well, not as good as he should be, but... and the doctor said to me that it was definitely an adverse reaction. And he blamed it on the whooping cough part of the vaccine. So...
And we've got a personal immunisation record from your son.
Yes, I found this. I dug through his little baby stuff today and found it.
And so back in 1992, the doctor actually made a note that there was an adverse reaction to the vaccine. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Yep, he has it written here. It says here he was 11 weeks, and was there a reaction? And it says yes. There was. He had what they call a HHE, which is a hypertonic, hyporesponsive episode.
Okay.
And it's that lifelessness. You can't arouse them, and their breathing is so shallow that it's almost like they're not alive.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's horrifying.
So
horrifying.
So take us forward then, like the days and weeks after that reaction. What was going on in the home then?
Well, I realised my baby was different. Yep. And one of the first things I noticed was his eye had turned in. And I've found some photos when he was younger that you can see what I'm talking about. And his eye was not like that before. Yeah. And besides that, he seemed to be a lot sleepier than he should be. He would sleep all the time. He wanted to sleep. He'd sort of lost his interest and his spark and he was not interested in looking at things like he was, or everything sort of faded.
Yeah.
He was a different kid.
Okay.
And then, milestones after that, everything was behind, and even still.
Sure. So schooling, he was behind just in
terribly so.
Okay.
Yeah, he was diagnosed with pervasive developmental disorder and then autistic spectrum disorder, learning disabilities. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, the few weeks and even the months after the thing, you obviously had follow-up visits with the doctors. What were the doctors telling you of this child in regards to the adverse reaction? What was going on in those first few years? What were the doctors coming back with?
Well, no doctor really realised that there was something terribly wrong with him until he started school. And in grade 1 is when they realised he was not keeping up with everybody else. He was so far behind. So, he was kept back in grade 1, had to repeat grade 1. But his schooling years were a nightmare, really.
Yeah.
He was teased constantly.
Sure. And what was your feeling in the follow-up vaccines after this one in regards to giving you more shots, or did you not, or did? Well, a lot of people we speak to, they didn't quite connect all the dots.
Not back then either. And because the doctor had said to me it was most definitely the whooping cough part of it that had caused this reaction, he said from now on that is to be omitted from his vaccinations. So I felt, okay, well, if he doesn't have the whooping cough part of it, then it should be okay, because I trusted the doctors so much.
Okay, fast forward now. Your son's 24 years old.
Yes, he is.
It's amazing how time goes on.
Yeah.
And you've obviously become a lot more educated in health and pharmaceutical medicines and all of that sort of stuff there. If you could go back in time, how would you all be different?
He wouldn't be vaccinated at all. Yeah. Not at all.
Yeah. And
not for anything.
And what's your advice to new mothers in 2016 in regards to vaccinations? Are some good and some bad, or what's your thoughts?
Well, really research about whether your child needs to be vaccinated against these diseases. What is the risk of catching polio now, really? And how dangerous is that? What is the risk now of catching diphtheria? What are the dangers of that if it ever happened? I mean, the risk of catching most of the diseases on the vaccination schedule is so low. And then even if you do catch them, they're not that dangerous. Look at measles, mumps, chickenpox. Then, they used to be commonplace childhood sort of diseases.
When we were kids, we got chickenpox.
Yeah.
And then that was our immunisation for life.
For life. Exactly.
Your little boy, he's 24 years old now. We're a lot further down the track.
Yeah.
And how's his life? What's he up to?
He struggles every day.
Yeah.
He's just recently completed a course where he had to do some work placement. Now he had to fill out his work placement each day. What he did was, he can't write. He can't spell or write properly, so I have to do these things for him. All his forms, anything he's got to fill out, I have to do. So I had 24 pages of his work placement to fill out because he can't do those sort of things. He still can't spell his middle name. Yeah.
So, and you're 100% sure that in 1992, this whooping cough vaccine was the cause of all of this with your son?
Absolutely. He changed.
Without a doubt.
From one day to the next day, he's different,
Right.
a different baby.
Yeah.
I'm 100% convinced. I saw it.
Yeah.
And I regret it now.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, yeah. And a final message to the mums that
Think
are about
twice.
to give birth or contemplating it, maybe sitting on the fence, I don't know about this stuff, the doctor said it was okay, they're hearing stuff. What's your final message to those people?
Don't believe everything you're being told. Look into it, everything. Ask questions about everything. Research everything. Because once it's in your baby, you can't get it out. Once the damage is done, it's done. So yeah.
Blaming the anti-vaccination movement for that.
There are no risks in vaccinating your children. The science is really clear. Talk to a GP. Don't get your advice from a quack on the internet.